Hello, Chris Cuomo here. Thank you for joining me on NewsNation. We have P. Diddy's lawyer joining exclusively to make the case that he was wrongly denied bail. We're also going to take a look at how much trouble he faces and what we think may be coming. But let's deal with the latest viral vacuum. Last night, I said what should be obvious, right? It is horrible that we have had 2 attempts on a former president in as many months. And we need to own what is happening. And no, I don't think it's really about the Secret Service as much as it is about how we conduct our politics. And I say that what I said is obvious because so many of you feel the same way, and that was no surprise. This country is filled with good people who believe in disagreement with decency. But that's not why the piece went viral. It went viral because partisans on both sides weaponized it, just as I expected. And it turns out the problematic reality is clear from the responses. And by that, I mean how clear it is that what happens on social media is very often not reality. But it does dominate our politics to our profound detriment. And I will show you. Now, the easy attack was that I made up talking to Trump. Do you think the former president would not call BS on me immediately if that were the case? Okay. The next was that I called to apologize to Trump, suggesting I had done something wrong and was begging his forgiveness. Look at all these memes. Look at them. I'm really sorry, so sorry. Why? The gotcha. An apology is a sign of weakness these days. And the further right you go, the more diluted it got in terms of my complicity in the attacks on Trump. Here's the truth. I reached out to Trump to let him know that I think it is shameful and embarrassing and horrifying that he has suffered multiple assassination attempts, and that it is shameful how limited outrage has been. No matter how toxic I find his words and deeds, and I do, and he knows I am an outspoken critic, but he also knows I feel for his family, and I want him safe, and so should you. So why isn't the truth enough? Because it's not about the truth in freaky fringe politics. It's about advantage, period. Even Kimberly Guilfoyle, who knows me a long time, trafficked in that nonsense. Yes, negativity is a proxy for insight on social media, but we have to be better than trying to constantly demean what and who we don't agree with. Enough. And by the way, the right were the nice ones on this. The real reaction I expected came heavy and hard, and it was from the left. Boys and girls, blue checks with big followings and the rest. The main thrust of it, Trump deserves it. Here's an example, and another, and another. Democrats, especially Harris, Walz, President Biden, you should disown these people and their ideas. Trump can control his followers in a way I've never seen in our politics, but he can't get these people to see that they are giving in to their worst instincts. You have been too quiet on this. Yes, the cliche applies. The silence is deafening. You want to condemn hate speech? Good. You want to condemn demonizing migrants? Good. But where is that same energy when you're talking about violence toward your opponents? Look, the truth is the guy who shot Scalise, the guy who shot Trump, and stop saying it was only his ear. What is wrong with people who say that? And this last guy who wanted to try to kill Trump, they're all likely or confirmed mentally ill with mixed political identities, and all are proof of the poison atmosphere in our politics. I do not think ordinary Democrats are trying to kill, but it is ordinary ones coming at me for not saying that Trump asked for it. And I reject this standard. 3 points to end. Be clear. I do not exempt Trump from the problem. He is a main offender, as is his running mate. But there is no but to the proposition that violence is the biggest enemy to democracy. And I reject, no matter what speech provokes it, that violence is ever okay or somehow understandable. Be clear, I need no education, let alone from someone on social media, of what it means to be a Democrat. I was raised by one of your best, one of the best your party has ever had. And that's why Mario Cuomo's name and legacy is still very much alive in your party, even if his ideas are missing. Mario Cuomo would have never qualified his rejection of violence. Never. He would have never settled for saying, vote for me because the other side is worse. He believed his democratic, liberal ideas were better and virtuous. And he argued that and only that. Lastly, what bothers me is not just that so many on the left are saying Trump is to blame for violence against him. It is that Harris and Biden and other Democratic leaders are not just as loud about how wrong it is to try to kill the man. And for those who say, oh, come on, stop. They said they don't condone violence. What does that even mean? Who condones violence? Imagine if it were Biden or Harris. God forbid. Would the reaction have been different? You know the answer is yes. And that is the problem. This race is too close to call, largely because of how divided we are. I believe America, the majority, not this magnified minority on social media, they are exhausted by the battle to the bottom. And the winner of this election is going to be the side that can show they are better than what and whom they oppose. Who will that be? That's what I have to say about that. Let's move on to the state of play. And we're seeing this problem as a continuing dynamic. J.D. Vance, running for vice president of this country, doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. I don't even know any higher word than that, but I think he said it more than 4 times. Haitian migrants are eating pets in Springfield. Take a look.
We had a resident this morning who spoke with a media person on the record talking about some of these pet stories. So we're hearing it from people. Maybe they're all wrong, but they're at least telling me, and I choose to trust their honesty much more than I do the American press.
That's crap. The Republican governor of J.D. Vance's home state of Ohio is Governor Mike DeWine. He is a man of integrity. He is a straight shooter. Okay? And I have always trusted our interviews, whether I like his answers or not. So he has agreed to join us, and I am pleased to welcome Ohio's Republican governor, Governor DeWine. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you for the note that you sent me. I appreciate it.
Chris, good to see you. Good to be back.
So, pets, dogs, cats, eaten all over the place in Springfield. What do you say?
The mayor says there's no evidence. Chief of police says there's no evidence. City manager says there's no evidence. There's no evidence. Just no evidence of this at all.
One more beat on this and then to what really matters. What is your message to J.D. Vance and former President Trump? You support them as the Republican ticket. What is your advice to them about what to do with these allegations about eating pets in Springfield that they keep repeating?
They're very hurtful. It's very hurtful to people. It's hurtful to the people in Springfield. Hurtful to the Haitians who are working every day. I talked to some of their employees. Fran and I had them over for breakfast the other day, the employers, excuse me. And look, they said they work very hard. They're very focused. They're family oriented. It's hurtful for them very, very much. And some of them are afraid. Look, if you ask for advice, I don't usually tell people how to run a campaign. I just think that the border is a huge issue. It's a very legitimate issue. It's something where I think the Biden administration has not done well and has failed. And I think talking about that makes a lot of sense. And I think that people want to hear about that. But this whole thing about eating dogs and cats and, that's just, it's very hurtful. It's not helpful to the people in Springfield.
Well, it's not really about them, though, is it? I mean, that's the proxy effect. It is for you, right? You've been dealing with this. And instead of attacking the issue, they're doing what they believe works in this reductive politics. That's never been your game. One of the reasons I respect you. So let's talk about how you got into this situation. You do not see it as a mess. You have said repeatedly you do not see the Haitians as a bad element in Springfield. But how did it happen that so many people got injected into a population and a society that wasn't ready for it in Ohio? Who did this? Did you do this, Gov?
Yeah, very, very good question. And just to give your listeners, your viewers, the idea, Springfield, Ohio, 58,000 people. We believe there's about 15,000 Haitians who have come in and who live there. Springfield was a great industrial city. It went down in the 70s, 80s, It has really been coming back in the last 5, 6, 7 years. We're getting companies that are looking at Springfield. They want to come in. And so what happened was, and this is directly from the employers who I talked to, Fran and I talked to the other morning, right after the pandemic, they could not find people to work. They couldn't find enough people to work. And they started looking, and there were some Haitians, and they started hiring them. They said, look, there's some cultural problems. There is certainly language problems. But what they found is that these were people who wanted to work, were very dedicated and focused, and would learn to work. They would come, they could pass a drug test, and they started hiring them. And, you know, one of the questions I asked them, I said, well, how did the other employees get along with them? And they said, look, when they saw that they could work, it works out fine. They get along just well. My own experience in working back for our company, DeWine Seeds, when I was just a teenager, Chris, and we had all kinds of people working out in the plant, and I was out there trying to lift bags and load trucks. What I've noticed is that the workers, people I work with, it was a very meritorious thing. If they found somebody that wasn't carrying their share and lifting that bag right, they'd tell them. But if they were doing a good job, they would always speak out for them and protect them. And that's basically what these employers have said was going on with their employees. So a large number came. I think, Chris, it's a lot like we've seen with any group of migrants, immigrants coming to a country. I think of my family. My family came to Yellow Springs during the potato famine, late 1840s. And we always figure they came, a guy by the name of Dennis DeWine. We think he came because the railroad was being built and there was jobs there. And we think there was always also a few other Irishmen there, and he followed them. This is what happens throughout the history. What's unusual about this, of course, is the large numbers. And it has as these Haitians have contributed to society, have paid taxes, have paid Social Security, have helped these companies grow. And in fact, one of the employers said, my company wouldn't be here today if I didn't have those
Yeah, I keep seeing that, Gov, and that's one of the reasons we wanted you on so much, because it can't be that the theory of the case from your party's ticket is that the migrants have made everything worse there, but in the same period that they've appeared, things have been getting better in Springfield than they were before they were there. So somebody's not telling the truth.
But look, we have to look at the whole picture. You have that many people come in.
They're going to be problems.
Some of the social services, it's great pressure on them. We got a lot of kids in school over a relatively short period of time, a great increase.
Right.
You see primary care, a real pressure on primary care. So we are working and have been working for some time, frankly, to get more nurses in, more people to handle primary care. The Haitians aren't very good drivers. I've had Fran and I have been to Haiti many, many times. We support a school down there. Our friend, Father Tom Hagen, runs it. So we have a lot of experience in Haiti. Many Haitians don't drive cars at all. And the rules in Haiti are just fundamentally different than in Springfield, Ohio, or any place in Ohio or in the United States. So there are challenges there. So we're trying to get more drivers' education in there. So I don't want to mislead anybody and say there's not challenges.
Right.
But the other side of it is they are producing and helping the economy. You're seeing businesses start. And it's what happens when people come in who actually want to work.
Right.
And, they are legal. And I think that's important for us to say. Look, I said when I was sworn in for the second time as governor, Ohio is a state that we welcome legal immigrants. Those from other countries who are legal here in this country, if they want to come and work, start a family or support their family, be part of the community, we want them to come.
Understood. And I'll tell you what, you just look at your own family. Generation or two ago, the same kind of ugly stuff was said about them. It was the Irish. Sure. Now it's the Haitians. We got to stop the cycle.
Irish need to fly, right? Wasn't that the old thing?
Well, listen, I'm Italian, so, you guys weren't great to us either. Governor DeWine, thank you very much.
Too, right?
Thank you for being here. You're always welcome to talk about the realities to the audience. Thank you for being here. Best to the family. All right, now.
Thank you very much.
That's the right. Let's look at the left. They're the ones who came after me. about saying that it is just shameful that people have not been more outspoken in Democratic leadership about how wrong it is to try to kill your opponent. I want to bring in somebody I respect very much, Brian Tyler Cohen. Part of the face of the future of the Democratic Party and the president. His new book, Shameless, Republicans' Deliberate Dysfunction and the Battle to Preserve Democracy, is a big hit, and it should be. He's one of the most viewed political hosts on YouTube. Kicking my butt, more than 2 billion views. So why did you guys get in such high dudgeon about what I said that was so obvious, which is you guys should be as loud about going after Trump as you are about the danger of hate speech?
Well, I think they're one in the same. I think the reason that Democrats get so up in arms about this whole idea that Democrats have to disavow violence is because the only reason the violence is here is expressly because of him. He is the only one perpetuating this violence.
Yeah, no, he isn't. There are plenty of people in your party who are constantly painting this guy as a dictator in waiting. It's a misapplication of Project 2025, which we both know is you can like it, you can attack it, it's easy to attack, but Project 2025 is conservative dogma. That's what it is. And a lot of it is on his website, but the guy's not a despot in waiting. Brian, why paint him as a danger to democracy? What do you think is going to happen?
First of all, Chris, it is not anybody else but Donald Trump who has said that he wants to terminate the Constitution, who has alluded to this idea that he wants to be a dictator on day one. It was his own running mate, J.D. Vance, who called him America's Hitler. So this idea that it's just the Democrats that are perpetuating these ideas that Donald Trump is akin to a fascist is a complete misnomer. But look, just on the violence, I want to go through a small list here because it is not the Democrats who told rallygoers to beat up protesters and that we would pay for their legal bills. That was Trump, who laughed at Paul Pelosi after he was bludgeoned with a hammer, who called for military tribunals for Liz Cheney, who said that the Second Amendment people should go after Hillary Clinton, who called General Mark Milley to be executed, who posted a baseball bat photo with Alvin Bragg and threatened death and destruction if he was charged, who posted images on the Truth Social showing Biden hogtied in the bed of a truck, who laughed off the kidnapping plot of Gretchen Whitmer, and finally, who incited the events of January 6th. All of that was Donald Trump. Again, the reason that the Democrats don't want Trump in power is because we don't want violence. That's the whole point of the movement against him.
Do you believe that there is a responsibility by Kamala Harris, Governor Walz, President Biden to make the case to the American people that there is no place for violence as vocally and vehemently as you just laid out what's wrong with Trump?
To a degree, yes, I understand what you're saying. And by the way, they have only and always been outspoken against violence.
Sotto voce. Sotto voce.
Kamala Harris.
Low voice.
Kamala Harris herself called Donald Trump today to find out how she was doing. The notion that Donald Trump would do the same if the roles were reversed is, you and I both know, wouldn't happen. So they have been outspoken against violence. But again, to put the onus
They haven't been outspoken. It's good that she called, but they haven't been outspoken. Biden said we don't condone violence. Like, what weaker statement could you make than that? He should have been outraged, Chris, Brian. That would have given him high ground.
To put the onus on the Democrats to fix a problem that is not only created by Trump, but that's being perpetuated by Donald Trump on a daily basis is like saying that the firefighters are responsible for
He's not the only arsonist.
Causing arson.
He's not the only arsonist. He may be the worst arsonist. But you've got plenty of people in your party who are playing that democracy is in danger game, who is saying he needs to be eliminated. And look, do I think that's taken out of context? Yeah, but so is a lot of the stuff that you said. And that's part of the problem, Brian, is that you're using his words, which is easy because he says such stupid stuff all the time, but you're twisting it to advantage. And when you do that, there is a risk. And you do not have people trying to kill your candidates.
Look, in terms of the people trying to kill the candidates, I mean, let's not forget that the first guy was a registered Republican. The second guy was a Donald Trump 2016 supporter who is advocating for a Haley Ramaswamy ticket. So again, Democrats are not out here advocating for violence and are doing everything in their power to keep the guy out of office who is advocating for violence.
I agree on the first, disagree on the second, but I appreciate you making the case to the audience, and you're always welcome here. I know you're a big shot. It's not easy to get you. But Brian Tyler Cohen, you are always welcome. Thank you for making the case.
Chris, thanks so much for your time.
4 minutes and 5 seconds. Do I agree with everything DeWine said? No, not exactly. Do I agree with everything Brian just said? No. Did you see me telling either of them I want them to eat a knuckle sandwich? No. That's how easy the fix is that we need. Disagree. Be decent about it. 6 months after the feds raided not one, but 2 of Sean Diddy Combs' homes, I didn't think they were going to make a move on him because I'm a dope and don't do the job. He is now behind bars in New York City, and he was denied bail, and that is a shocker. The charges, sex trafficking, drugging victims, filming them having sex, it's getting to be a longer and longer list, and we're only at the indictment stage. His lawyer is here, and she says, you got it wrong. He should not have been denied bail, and he is not guilty. How not? She'll make the case.
Play and Alexa.
This is your Transportation Channel Minute, presented by newspark.io. Air travel issues persist for American flyers, and the U.S. Department of Transportation has reported a notable increase in passenger complaints for 2023. This trend underscores growing concerns about flight delays, cancellations, and overall customer service in the airline industry. According to the DOT's Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the department received nearly 97,000 complaints from passengers in 2023, a significant rise from the approximately 86,000 complaints filed in 2022. Passengers are encouraged to plan ahead and be ready for potential delays. Regularly checking flight status updates, familiarizing yourself with airline customer service policies, and considering travel insurance. This can all help reduce disruptions and ensure a smoother travel experience. The Transportation Channel is powered by newspark.io. Go to newspark.io to learn more about what we can do for you. For the Transportation Channel Minute, I'm John Acello.
This is NewsNation's audio stream. Take us wherever you go. America's fastest growing cable news network is NewsNation.
Keeping up with new TV shows can be such a headache. This show is on one streaming service, that show's on another. It's not entertaining, it's overwhelming. That's why there's Rewind TV, the best classic comedies from the 80s and 90s, all in one place.
Hey, those were the days.
And with no annoying passwords to remember, there's no need to ever change the channel again.
Trust me on this one.
Don't delay. Watch today all your favorite comedies from the 80s and 90s on Rewind TV.
Crypto Fits, crypto breaking news.
Brought to you by ReadingBitcoinCenter.com. Here's another way you can prevent your crypto from being stolen. Use a virtual private network. Use a VPN to help you maintain data security and privacy online, especially when you're on a public Wi-Fi network. Without a VPN, potential hackers can gain access to your data and your browsing habits. So if you're making crypto transactions on an unsecured public Wi-Fi network, you risk having this data exposed. A VPN works by masking your device's IP address so that your internet connection is secure and your browsing and online movements can't be tracked by thieves. Use a virtual private network.
Follow the latest in crypto and NFT news at cryptofits.io.
Gotta be honest, I did not see this coming for Sean Diddy Combs. I thought he would get bail. Yesterday, he was arrested 6 months after 2 of his homes were raided by the feds. One of the biggest takedowns of a celebrity of his magnitude we've ever seen. And like I said, just hours ago, they had this application for bail. Prosecution didn't want it. Judge agreed. He will stay behind bars, and he was offering to put up $48 million. And he gave his passport to his lawyer. They said they were going to hand it over. So what's going on him? Well, in part, it's the charges: racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Here's what the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York had to say about this.
Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB.
Okay, if convicted on all those charges, and we're just at the probable cause phase, which is the lowest standard we have in the criminal system, you could get life in prison. Is that enough to deny bail? Because the prospect would make him run. His attorney is Tenny Garagos, and she was with Combs in court today. Joins me now. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
I was surprised, but now I'm going to feign that I'm not. That kind of charges, Harvey Weinstein, they were worried about him messing with his ankle bracelet. You can't play with these big celebrities. Just keep him where he is. Why is that not a fair outcome?
Because what he did here was so extraordinary, Chris, that he shouldn't have been denied bail. And we're going to be back at a bail hearing tomorrow before his assigned judge at 3:30. Hopefully he'll get it then. What he did here is on a magnitude of unlike anybody else you could imagine. A week after these public searches were televised, he gave us his passport. His children gave us his passport. He then paid off the mortgage entirely on his Miami home. $18 million, Chris. That is an unbelievable amount of money. He's been trying to sell his plane since the searches happened.
Explain why, other than that he's got a lot of money. Why does it matter that he wanted to pay off the house? What is that instructive of?
It's instructive that he's going to have a bail package ready so that if he was arrested, he would have something ready so that he could get out the next day and show the judge he's taking this very seriously, which he is, which is why 12 days ago, Chris, when we thought there's an indictment that may be coming, he flew to New York the very next day. He got on a plane and he came here. And that's an extraordinary move for a defendant who's been under investigation that he's been aware of for at least 6 months. He came to the very jurisdiction that is investigating him, and he said, I'm here, I want to surrender, let me surrender. And they obviously didn't let him do that, but he's been here for 12 days, not knowing if it would happen the day he got here, or a year from now, he was going to wait. And we told the government, if you want his address, we'll give it to you. He's been here complying with the investigation at every step since the searches took place.
Why do you think it will be different tomorrow?
Well, there's a new standard, basically. The judge will look at it completely different, not differently, but he won't have to rely on what the judge did today. And we will just have a second shot at it. We'll be able to make our case again.
Is that how it always works? Or is this celebrity justice?
This is how it always works. Typically, when someone gets arrested in federal court, they go before the magistrate judge on duty, which is what happened today. And then everybody, whether it's the government who's unhappy with the outcome or the defense, they have the right to appeal to the district court judge. So that's what happened.
How long does he have to stay in there if it gets denied again?
Until trial. Till the end of the trial.
So that could be months or years.
But then we would have the ability to appeal to the Second Circuit. So even tomorrow wouldn't be the end of it.
You think he gets out?
I hope he gets out. He has done everything somebody under investigation can do. I can't think of anything else that he could have done. There was no surprises here, Chris. We knew that he was under investigation for racketeering and sex trafficking, and he stayed put. He committed not to fly out of the country. He stayed within the country, and they didn't ask that of him. That was a commitment he made.
So, Tenny, my people that I talk to at the Southern District are talking a typical talk. It's not all the time they say this, but they say this is going our way. Not the bail. They say we have them. We got a lot of people who are going to talk and say that this is what Diddy was about, and some people may pass it off as hip-hop culture, but it is a series of felonies and RICO. What do they have wrong?
They did say in court today, they've talked to 50 witnesses. We said the same thing. We've been doing a parallel investigation at every single step of the way, talking to every single there's the same kind of universe of people here that he's been around. We're talking to people to show that we have a case. He's fighting, he's innocent, and he's going to be able to show it.
Innocent means he didn't do any of the wrong things. Not guilty means they can't make the case.
He's
right?
innocent.
So you think he did none of these things? He was never present in any of these activities? This wasn't his lifestyle?
But a lifestyle and being present in activities doesn't mean he committed a crime.
Unless those activities and that lifestyle are criminal.
But those activities and the lifestyle is not criminal. What was notable today, what my partner Mark said in court, is they never once said that these women didn't consent to what happened. Not once.
Can they all have consented, or were they minors and therefore the consent doesn't apply?
No charges relating to minors. None. The difference here between R. Kelly, between Epstein, no charges relating to minors.
So this is all adult consensual activity. People can judge it morally, but legally, you believe he committed no crime.
Maybe it's not what someone here would do in the bedroom, but that doesn't mean that what he did was a crime.
What is his disposition and his mood?
He's okay. He's ready to fight. He came here ready to fight, and he's okay, and we're going to fight again tomorrow.
Tenny, you have an open audience here at all steps of this process to say what you believe from your client's perspective. We'll cover it fairly throughout. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tenny Garagos, appreciate it. Let's take a break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Up next, Stephen A. Smith. What does he think about Combs getting denied bail? What does he think about people jumping all over me because I said it's wrong that Trump has people trying to assassinate him and we got to do better than this? He'll tell you himself.
Responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Now, you got to wonder whether or not at least this first magistrate didn't have that in his mind, what we all saw Sean Diddy Combs do to an innocent female. Is that a reason why they denied bail? How will that factor into the prosecutor's reckoning of Combs and the rest of this case? His lawyer argued to us that this was all consensual. Was it? Were they able to consent? Was the drug activity real? That's what this case may be about. Now, this is going to be a very big interest situation because it's going to be a window into the world of hip hop as some want to paint it. Stephen A. Smith says this case could have implications that go far beyond Combs, and he joins us now to make his witness. Good to see you, my brother, as always. Why is it bigger than just Combs?
Because Homeland Security and the legal system has let us know that. When they raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami a few months back, and they got just a bevy of videotapes, surveillance cameras, laptops, iPads, emails, and all of this other stuff that they got a hold of. Clearly, when you look at the situation like that, they're not coming just for that individual. The belief is they're coming for a whole bunch of people. You get somebody, you squeeze, you find the soft spot, you squeeze. And when you squeeze that individual, they'll sing like a bird to get everybody else that may have been involved. Sex trafficking, racketeering. When you see the kind of things that have been levied against them, the kind of accusations and allegations that have been levied against them, it's widely believed that he's not the only target of the press. I know people in Hollywood. I know folks who cover Hollywood. And these are the kind of things that are being said as we speak. And you're going to hear more and more about that in the days and weeks to come.
Do you see this as a potential just organic outgrowth of the investigation? Or are we going full New Jack City, Nino Brown, where when Combs is squeezed, he says, if I'm going down, everybody's coming with me, and he starts naming names?
Yeah, that's the latter. The latter is what people are anticipating. If you recall, there was an interview that Suge Knight did months ago, and he brought up Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. He brought up how, this sexual predator was incarcerated and obviously ended up committing suicide, according to the reports. But there was some elements there that were a bit shaky, like the two cameras looking into his cell was inconveniently or conveniently rather damaged and couldn't provide any evidence and what have you. You have a lot of people speculating that he was taken out because he knew too much about too many people, and that was the comparison that Suge Knight drew to point to P. Diddy. He was a person that was in the music industry for many, many years, obviously incredibly connected. We know his history as well, and we also know he knew a lot. And he brought that up on purpose because he was saying that P. Diddy knows a lot of people, he knows about a lot of things, and he may indeed know too much, so he was in a world of trouble. He said that months ago, and everybody raised their eyebrows and paid attention because you knew that it was a strong element of truth to that potential reality.
So in terms of, there'll be a cultural phenomenon around this also. Not to compare him to Michael Jackson, but just the dynamics, okay? Because the allegations are different at this point than what we saw with Jackson. But it's a lot of people love this guy. A lot of people see him as an idol and a star. And how do you think that plays into acceptance of this prosecution as fair or unfair?
I don't think that plays the role here. When you look at a guy like Michael Jackson, from his talents to his voice and, the enormous amount of success that he had you had a lot of people who pitied him. They looked at him and they said, why are you bothering Michael? Why are you bothering Michael? That's not what you hear when it comes to Sean P. Diddy Combs. You don't hear that at all. You hear about him being highly successful, but you've seen him in action in terms of how vociferous he can be, how strong-willed he can be, how defiant he could be. Remember that when he came out in May and categorically denied what had transpired, or actually apologized on May 19th, if I remember correctly, once the video of him beating his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, came out and he ultimately showed a level of contrition. It was weeks earlier that he had adamantly and categorically denied there was any truth to it whatsoever. And so when that came out, all of a sudden you saw video evidence. And we all know when you got video, that's when the nail is if not approaching the coffin, it's in it. You got video. And where the smoke, there's fire. You believe that there's more evidence that's going to come out against them, and that's why everybody is thinking the way that they're thinking right now, and that's why you're not seeing anybody speak on the issue too much, because the belief is there's a lot of people in Hollywood, particularly in the music industry, that are in panic mode because they don't know what may come out about them or what may be said or implied about them just because of their association with him.
The cliche, the silence is deafening. And in the law, falsus in uno, falsus in tuto. They catch you lying about one aspect of a situation. Now they're going to impute that you're lying about all of them. They still got to do the work of the proof. But there is a suggestion there. So on the purpose of how people feel and what they accept as the truth, are you surprised that I had people come after me as hard and heavy as they did for saying that I don't like what comes out of Donald Trump's face? I'm one of his biggest critics, but we are way too quiet about him having people try to kill him twice in as many months.
I'm not surprised at all. I keep telling you about that. When it comes to politics, it's different. I cover the world of sports, okay? So at the end of the day, regardless of the billions upon billions of dollars that are involved, in the end, it's games. It's not somebody that it's not something that has a dominion over people's lives. But when you talk about the economy, when you talk about immigration, when you talk about health care and the potpourri of issues that come down the pike, it has a profound effect on the lives of American citizens. It has dominion over us. We don't get to choose what our tax rates are. We don't get to choose what the price of health care is going to be and things of that nature. And so you depend on folks on Capitol Hill. And the fact that you have to, you feel relatively helpless. So when somebody comes along and you believe they're speaking your language like Trump supporters believe he's speaking theirs, and anybody speaks against them, and they define it or they interpret it as something that could potentially damage his chances of returning to the White House, they're going to come at you feverishly in every way imaginable. Me being a black man, being an independent, I can't tell you how many times people have approached me and said, you better get that black woman elected. You better keep your mouth shut. You better not say anything negative about her. And I've already declared publicly she's got my vote because we can't trust Trump and I don't like the way he acts. But it doesn't mean I'm going to be oblivious to some of the mistakes that she may make and some of the things that she may do that I don't agree with. And still, you have people who feverishly have come after me from time to time, fabricating stuff, embellishing things, creating headlines, doing anything that they can to squash me, you, and anybody else who doesn't march lockstep with how they believe we are supposed to articulate a position, because it's a binary system that we're living in. It's a two-horse race. It's one or the other. It's going to be Kamala Harris or it's going to be Donald Trump. And damn it, make sure it's not Donald Trump by any means necessary. That is what they expect you to do. And if you deviate from that in any way, you are perceived as being the enemy and persona non grata. You know it. I know it. You know it better than me because you've been involved in it. But they're not going to break you, just like they're not going to break me. It is what it is.
That is a real truth bomb. And while you're on a roll, I'll just ask you a quick yes-no question. Will you admit that you went to that Taylor Swift concert alone? Taylor Swift, you went alone?
No. I took my daughter.
You are not ready to admit it yet. You are not ready to admit it yet. All right, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone.
I am a truth teller. You always say I'm a truth teller. Why you keep doubting me, man? I told you 3 times, 5 times.
I took my daughter. I'm a Swiftie on it.
No, never.
Boy,
I haven't been seen in a tank top.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I've seen you. I saw you in a
I'm not in shape like you are.
I saw you in a sleeveless hoodie.
A sleeveless hoodie. I'm in some decent shape, but not the kind of shape you're in.
No. You're in much better shape. You're smarter. You're better. I'm a big fan. I just thought while you were on a roll, maybe you'd want to own it. But next time. Life is long, brother.
No.
Life is long.
No.
I know you went alone.
The truth.
I know you went alone.
You're not accepting the truth.
You went alone.
You're not accepting the truth.
There are pictures of you alone.
Stephen
A. Smith.
Trust me.
I love you and appreciate you. Look, he's getting upset. Look at his eyebrows. He's getting
Appreciate you, man. Love you. All right, bro.
I'll see you next time. 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Up next. I don't know what to make of this story, okay? You guys, a lot of you don't even know what pagers are, okay? Nobody really uses them anymore, though they are harder to track than cell phones. And that's what Hezbollah thought. Then they started blowing up all over the place. Hezbollah saying Israel did it and killed people. Lots of people. Did Israel do it? And if so, how? Next. I've never heard anything like this before. Today, 9 killed, thousands injured. How? You watching this? Hundreds of scenes like this. Pagers are these things that used to send called messages to before cell phones. Pagers, hundreds of them, belonging to members of Hezbollah, the terror group, exploded reportedly simultaneously, okay, across Lebanon and parts of Syria. They say Israel did it. Hezbollah promises revenge. If true, this is one of the most amazing capers I've ever heard of. Did Israel do this? If so, how? And now what's going to happen? Let's bring in former CIA case officer Robert Baer, spent decades in the Middle East, including Lebanon. Bob, have you ever heard of anything like this?
Yes, Chris, I have. In 1996, Shin Bet, the Internal Security Service, killed Yahya Ayash. He was a Hamas bomber, wanted. He was living in Gaza. And they got a phone to him, and he thought he was talking to his father. He puts it to his ear, blows the side of his head off. What the Israelis had done is put probably 10 to 15 grams of high explosives, plastique, in the phone. It's no weight difference, basically. Had a mini detonator in there. And as soon as a code was sent to the phone, it blew them up.
So
yes, they've done this before.
You think they did this? That they got their hands on hundreds of pagers that Hezbollah wanted and put explosives in them and were able to have them all go off at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. It's not that complicated. It's all you need to do is get into the supply chain, which apparently this came out of Taiwan. They found out about that. They got to the company or somewhere in the supply chain and got all those pagers, hundreds or maybe thousands of them, and put explosives in them, a detonator, an encoded receiver, and blew them up. Now, pagers are fairly safe because they're receivers, one-way pagers are receivers, so they're impossible to track. A cell phone you can track off a SIM card, any cell phone in the world, doesn't matter if it's a fancy one or not, but a pager, no. And what Hezbollah has done is gone back and used pagers, old technology, to avoid the Israelis, and the Israelis outthought them.
So this, I get it. It's war, it's terrorism. But it seems like this was a really aggressive thing to do, and they're asking for retaliation, are they not? Was this the right thing for Israel to do, tactically and ethically?
I think Israel would love to get the justification to go into southern Lebanon and take care of Hezbollah, its rocket sites, maybe up to the Litani River, maybe up to Beirut, simply because Bibi Netanyahu has promised to rid Israel of all terrorist threats, which would include Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is doing a lot of damage in northern Israel. And he feels obligated, especially by the far right, to go after it. This may be a provocation on Israel's part, but in any case, it's at one go has dismantled its main communication system, pagers.
I'll tell you, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. Bob Baer, thank you for laying it out to us. Appreciate it very much. Now we got to see what happens next. I'll talk to you soon, my friend. 4 minutes, 45 seconds. Up next, quick final thought. I hope you understand the intention behind what I said and why I said it. I don't have a whole lot of interest in talking to you about my experience doing the job. I don't really care what happens online. I was not really aware of what was going on with this piece because I try to limit how much social media I take in. And I'll go on, I'll slap a couple of people around if that's what they're asking for, because you get what you ask for with me. You give respect, you get respect. The point is, what do you do with it? What does it mean to you that it seems to be just a little wrong that someone tried to kill a former president who was running for president of the United States? What do you want